staying out late at night. Go home to your wife and family. Stay there by your fireside.
Hello, Midwesterners. Hello from the heart of America. This is Bob Pew Pew coming to you from Flyover Radio USA. And this is the first show, the very first show of Flyover America USA. And I'd like to dedicate this to all the patriots out there and all the 3%ers and all the 2A people. And I'd like to remind all of my listeners here just exactly what a patriot is. And this is for all the people on the left who clearly don't understand what a patriot is. A patriot is a simple word. It doesn't describe a right-wing nutcase Nazi fascist as you would have people believe, or what you believe in your head, the delusion that you believe in your head. A patriot is a person who believes in their country. We also believe in the Constitution, and we believe in our neighbors, and we believe in helping each other out, and we believe in God, and we believe in what's right for the country and what's good for everybody. And we recognize when wrong is in the world, and we recognize crime when we see it. We recognize that we want to live in a peaceful society without crime and without hatred, which we've done in this country for 200 years up to this point. And now it's gotten, obviously, the situation's gotten much worse than it's ever been. And, you know, there's absolutely no reason for it. So, I'd like to cover a few things here today and talk about some recent news stories. You know, the first thing I'd like to talk about that popped up over the last few days was Nancy Pelosi's haircut. And I'm sure everybody heard the story. You know, the whole thing is really quite ridiculous, and it never would have reached the proportions that it did, except for cancel culture. And what's happening here is cancel culture has been used against average everyday people in the country, and they've gone after, you know, men over sexual allegations, no matter how small they were, and they've canceled small people. Though, in the same hand, you know, the left doesn't go after big people. After all, we have some serious crimes in the corner of the Democratic Party, and they've got a pretty deep, dark closet filled with skeletons, and nobody seems to care about that. And yet they go after plain everyday people like the kids from Covington High School, you know, and Nick Sandmann, who they attacked for no reason, for just being there and smiling. You know, I know it's illegal in this country now to be white and smile. I get it. You know, I get the connotation. I know what you're all trying to do. So, but now we have Nancy with her haircut, and sure looks pretty bad, and it looks pretty bad because of the cancel culture. And it's not the cancel culture doing it. You know, the cancel culture, I think, is stunned because they keep getting caught with their hand down their pants in their hypocrisy, and they look pretty stupid. So you know that, left-wingers, you look goddamn stupid, just so you understand it. Now today, tit for tat, there was an article that came out about President Trump saying the World War veterans were a bunch of losers, and he wasn't going to visit some World War battlefield with a bunch of Marines who, I believe, if I remember right, the story, they were at the Battle of Pella Wood, and he wasn't going to visit it because he said they're a bunch of losers. Well, ironically, one of his biggest enemies, John Bolton, came forward and said he was with the president there that day, and the president never said that. So what do we have? We have a tit for tat from the Democratic Party and from the magazine, the Atlantic magazine, which is a left-wing liberal rag, which is what you are, Atlantic magazine, making up a story, false news. And you got caught by somebody who was there because you failed to verify your story. What's verifiable news? I don't know. Atlantic magazine, CNN, okay, even Fox News, and other outlets, CBS, NBC, all the big ones. Don't they know how to report news anymore, or don't they know how to do investigative reporting? You all look stupid. And that's all I'm going to say to that. Next chapter. Facebook. Somehow, Mark Zuckerberg, his become a demagogue who I think believes that he's Xerxes. You remember the movie 300, Xerxes? The god, the man god? And I think that's who Mark Zuckerberg thinks he really is. He thinks he's a man god. And he sure is condescending, and he's going to run our lives and tell us what to do. Well, Facebook has been on a great purge. So for those of us who talk to other patriots and talk to Republicans and talk to conservatives and, you know, talk to 3%ers because they're there, even libertarians, you know, libertarians, you're in danger, libertarians. Your First Amendment rights are as much at stake as ours is. And you need to realize that too. So the end result of this has been, because we're all talking to each other on Facebook, they're purging our pages. I mean, just this morning, I woke up and a Facebook friend of mine and an acquaintance who I know personally, have met personally, suddenly woke up and found his Facebook page like gone. And it was his personal page. It wasn't like this was some right-wing, radical, well-armed militia, Nazi, fascist, Hitlery, you know, like all the buzzwords they love to use for who we are. There was nothing like that on his page. There were certain things that he said about being a patriot and about pedophiles. Maybe it wasn't maybe it was his comment about pedophiles that he didn't like. Oh, why? Because the left in Hollywood want to normalize pedophiles and abuse our children. That's what it appears to be. And from looking at the outside in, that's what it looks like. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and waddles like a fucking duck, it's a duck. Okay? Maybe you are a pedophile if you support what's going on and support purging Facebook pages. I don't know. But anyhow, his story is not the first story, and it's not going to be the last. In fact, between now and Election Day, I can guarantee you a lot of my friends are going to disappear, and I might disappear too off of Facebook. It doesn't mean I'm not going to come back in some other alter ego, because I'll guarantee you fucking this, I will absolutely come back as another person, fictitious or not, and preach the same shit I'm preaching now. Maybe you should understand that, Mr. Zuckergod. Okay, enough said on Mr. Zuckergod. Next chapter. This morning was also reported that Mr. Reinhold, who was the murderer from Portland, who decided he was going to shoot somebody and kill them because they were a Trump supporter, and again, as the news reported it, a right-wing radical, which he wasn't a right-wing radical. They dehumanized this gentleman. In fact, I shouldn't even be mentioning Mr. Reinhold's name, because he'll be made a hero because of who he is, just like every mass murderer is elevated by the mass media. We never know who the victims are, do we? We never know their names, but we sure know the murderers' names. I mean, ask anybody who John Wayne Gacy is. They know exactly who John Wayne Gacy is. Ask them who their victims are. Who was his victims? Who did he kill? Who are the 33 young boys that he buried in his basement? Nobody knows their names because, one, they're the victims. Two, because they're fucking males and they're expendable. That's why. Because males in this society are expendable. Nobody gives a fuck about males. If he had 33 women buried down there, fucking all hell would break loose. But because there's 33 males, nobody will ever remember them. In fact, you know what? Let me put it in this light. Nobody gives a fuck about the victim. Let's be truthful. Let's be absolutely truthful. So, anyway, I woke up to the news that Aaron J. Danielson, okay, his killer, and that's who the victim is. That's who Reinhold's victim was in Portland. Aaron J. Danielson, the alleged right-wing radical with the Patriot prayer hat on, who was oh so threatening to the human race and was gunned down by Mr. Reinhold. Mr. Reinhold was found this morning by federal authorities. And just like every other Antifa puke and scumbag and BLM scumbag, Bolshevik, which is what they are Bolsheviks, this is a Bolshevik revolution, he pulled a gun on the police. Well, the federal police laid him out. And I'll tell you what, just like the Antifa and Black Lives Matter who sit there and preach that, oh, they didn't lose any sleep over the fact that Jay Danielson was killed, I'm not losing any sleep over Mr. Reinhold. I'm good he's dead, and I hope he's in hell. period. And so does everybody else, because he was a murderer. That's going too far. I would have rather seen his neck stretched on a gallows, but I'll take the feds gunning him down. I'm happy to see him gone. Okay, next chapter. You know, we have a lot of children missing just in the middle states, in the Midwest. We have children who are missing and haven't been found. There's a lot of different various reasons, and I was reading up on this pretty hard over the last couple days, and the records are never straight with missings. A lot of times children are missing for various reasons. They could be out and out abductions, they could be parental abductions because of divorce cases, and a mix of other things, or runaways. So the records are really never quite straight about who's missing, who's still missing, who's been found, and we're not sure. But what we know we have a child exploitation problem here in the Midwest, in the flyover states, and I'm sure coming out to the plain states, it'd be easy to abduct children, out of small towns, because they're not as well managed as they are in bigger cities. They're probably very much easier to pick out. They're much easier to isolate, whether they're stalking them or they're using the internet to stalk them and grooming them for child exploitation, or grooming them to molest them, or playing an adult playing another child to meet them somewhere they're abducted. So there's a lot of reasons, but when I wake up to a situation where the government cares more about some of the things that they care about, and the public in general, they care more about Nancy Pelosi's fucking hair. And I get it, she's a hypocrite, and I can't stand her, and I think that she needs to be gone. She's a horrible human being and a horrible leader. She's not a leader at all. She's just a really nasty person, and she needs to be gone, and that's all there is to it. But when I see our priorities, shift away from our kids and what's going on with them, and doing the right things, and talking to our kids, and talking to them about how to deal with certain situations, in the past, there were programs such as Stranger Danger, where the police would actually come to the classroom, and now will they even be allowed in the classroom? I don't know. I don't know for sure how it's all going to go. I think that they do belong there, talking to the kids and getting to know them. I think that would be a good use of police from a community policing standpoint, or whether they'll be there. But do they need to go back there and talk to them about how they could be exploited by the internet, and how they could be exploited by people who want to take them or human traffic them? I think that would be a good use of police, but the leftists and the liberals are so dead set against the police being involved in their lives, and yet they'll allow children to be both aborted by the thousands, and they want late term abortions, and they don't care if they're kidnapped off the streets and turned into prostitution. I have a real issue with that. I think that's a horrible situation. And I'm just going to say, if anybody here or anybody that sees this video knows anything about a child being abducted, knows the whereabouts of a child, maybe a child who's in danger's way, and they're a child at risk, and there's many out there who aren't being taken care of like they should be taken care of, please call the police. Go online and look up the missing webpage for the missing and exploited children, and contact them and let them know. Call the authorities. Call the county police. Call the state police. By God, do something to help our children, because right now nobody cares, and it's real apparent, that Satan is in the world, because Satan hates children. I was never completely religious. I guess I was born more secular, but I was raised in a pretty religious household, though I never adhered to those principles, and I very rarely prayed when I was younger. But now I pray every day, and now I'm closer to God. I'm closer to God because what I see going on in the world proves to me that Satan is alive and well, and he's manipulating us, and he's manipulating our landscape. And I pray every day that people will wake up and have common sense and start to see things for what they're worth. And the big red flag on the road right now is what we're doing to our children and how we're brainwashing them in the schools. We have Marxists in the schools. We have communists in the schools. We have a Bolshevik revolution on our hands. We're training them to do the wrong things, and we're training them to believe the wrong things. We're training them to believe that the people who are trying to help them every day, meaning the police and the firefighters, okay, in medicine, they're training our kids to believe that they're the enemy. People need to understand that. They need to come to grips with the fact that these people are not their enemy. The police are not your enemy. The police are not my enemy. The government is not necessarily our enemy. The government is our enemy up to this point is when they become satanic, and that's what they become. They're satanic. You know, I once had a very conservative Christian pastor in a Lutheran church of all places. And I'm not talking about a fire and brimstone preacher, or not a Baptist. You know, not somebody from the Assembly of God. Please don't split that hair with me, because I believe that those other pastors are great pastors, and I believe that the Protestant religion is a great religion. But I believe that Christianity in itself is a great religion, whether you're a Catholic or Protestant makes no difference to me. So I just wanted to qualify that. Okay, but Lutheran minister comes up to me one day and we're talking, and he said to me, you know, if it came down to it, it is our duty as Christians to overthrow the government when it becomes satanic. We are reaching the point where we have a party in charge of our affairs, and I'm talking about the Democrats, and I'm talking about liberalism. I'm talking about Antifa, and I'm talking about Black Lives Matter. I'm probably also talking about George Soros, who is a subject for a whole different video, and I will do a video about George Soros, because I believe that there's an actual problem there that needs to be discussed in depth, which isn't being discussed because the mainstream media doesn't touch on George Soros. But it is our duty as Christians to talk about, to address, to stand up to, including taking up arms against a government that has become satanic. And a government, or a section of our government, a sect of our government, whatever you want to call it, if it takes power, it would be the same thing as the Nazis taking over Europe in 1939, and the Nazi brown shirts storming the streets, which is similar to what we're seeing now. It was the world's duty, and it's our duty, but it was the world's duty to stop what was going on in the European continent. It was the world's duty to stop Adolf Hitler and the Nazis, and it is our duty to stand up to a satanic government if it comes down to it. And I think that day is quickly approaching. Well, that's all I have to say for today, and I just want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to my first installment here at Radio Free Flyover, or Flyover Radio. This is Bob Pew Pew talking to you from Mid-America, and I pray that you'll all pray to God tonight, and you'll hope for a better resolution to what's going on in the world. And I pray for peace, but at the same time I pray for strength, and I pray for God's wisdom and His strength to guide us to the proper light when the time comes, no matter what it takes. So I wish everybody the best. Have a good day. Bye-bye.